Let's talk Tanya for the 25th of Tamuz. Yesterday we started our conversation about teshuvah ilah, the higher level of teshuvah, which we explained is achieving a state of oneness with God, accomplished through the study of Torah, because when we learn Torah, we are being a conduit for God, for God's wisdom that flows in our mind, and when we're speaking words of Torah, also flows through our mouths. But this unity with God, the teshuvah ilah, it needs to extend to the rest of our being also, beginning with our emotions. And that's why the Zohar tells us that the word bina is made up of the words ben and then yud and a hey. Now, yud and hey obviously is God's name, but it's also, we've encountered this earlier in Tanya, the name yud-kei represents how God manifests himself intellectually. So it represents chachma and bina. Ben yud-kei, the child of yud-kei, what are the children of intellect? That is emotions. So yes, we're talking here about bina, as we mentioned yesterday. Teshuvah ilah is about bina, but also ben yud-kei. This also has to involve the emotions, and that's why the Zohar talks about teshuvah ilah and bina as being ha'em revetzes al ha'afreichim, which means the mother crouching over her chicks. The mother being bina, the mother being understanding. The chicks, which are the progeny, the offspring of the mother, are the emotions. We need to get our emotions also involved in this unity with God, and that is through developing a love for God and a reverence for God, and a love for God that encompasses our totality. As we say, v'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, we have to love God b'chol nafshecha, with all of your being, every single part of your being. So teshuvah ilah, it begins with studying Torah, but ultimately it has to encompass our emotions. They're also part of this relationship with God. And then also our machshava dibra ma'aser, our thoughts, speech, and action, our thoughts and our speech through studying Torah and speaking Torah, which, as we mentioned, when we study Torah and we speak Torah, we are at that point, we are channeling God and having this unity with God. And then when it comes to ma'aser, when it comes to action, how do we channel God in our actions? How do we become a conduit for God in our actions? It is not through doing mitzvahs, because mitzvahs, again, is not the ultimate unity which we're talking about. As we explained yesterday, mitzvahs are me doing what God wants. But when I am a kind person, when I'm a compassionate person, when I give tzedakah, I'm literally at that point channeling God's kindness, God's chesed, and that is also a level of unity with God. So the teshuvah ilah and that unity with God, which begins with studying of Torah, ultimately it has to impact and encompass my entire being, that I become entirely united with God. In tomorrow's Tanya, we're going to find out the relationship between teshuvah ilah, this higher level of teshuvah, and our davening.